Hello. Hey, old Yannick, I've got the link below. You can check it out. Yannick put up a link. I'll put up a link, excuse me. Yannick wrote an article, and it's over on PETAPIXEL now. They asked his permission to put it up. I thought you should check it out. It's very neat. A lot of interesting responses below. Some, love it. Some think it's interesting. There are a lot of knuckle-dragging, pseudo-intellectual simians that are spewing hate about it. But the important thing is that I went through all of them, and there's not a single person that is anything intelligent. I mean, it's not a single, like this is, someone said, well, I don't like this, I hate this, and here's the reasons why. It's wrong because of A, B, C, X, Y, Z. See, that's different. There's two different ways to hate something. You could just be a hater because you're a closed-minded, brain-dead simian, or you could, which that's no benefit to anybody, and it just burns you up inside. Or you could not like something because, well, it's like, well, I know better because this is a fact, here. There's not a single person in that long list of comments that says one single damn thing that didn't like his article. Not one damn person. I thought I'd challenge a few of them, and I said, well, here's the 7 aspects of depth, in support of his article. And, the article itself really requires a book. You can't stick all that stuff inside of a little article, but that's no fault of him or his article. It's a fault of the fact that it's a very lengthy topic. And, this is the reason why boards are bad, like photography boards. It's called herd mentality or group consensus. There's no such thing as truth by consensus. And these people are just idiots. I mean, the very best comment, and I worked with opticians for like 17, 18 years, and in Southland Optical, where was the other one? Super Optical Express, iGlass when I was younger. So I worked with opticians for nearly 2 decades. And one guy said, well, I'm an optician, therefore I'm an expert in optics, so I called BS on this article. And an optician knows nothing about optics. I mean, they really don't. I've known lots of opticians. I mean, a lot. And these people don't know anything about optics. They don't. They know what an index of refraction is, and they have to pass some rudimentary stuff, but they don't know anything about camera optics. So, talk like that. That was actually, the very best comment was nothing other than a pile of fecal matter. But anyway, I suggest you check out his article. I mentioned something to him in talking about different types of game. You have, doesn't matter if it's a mirrorless camera, and doesn't matter, the mirror doesn't matter anything as far as native gain. I wanted to draw your attention to an analogy because there's no difference between radio and light. They're both exactly the same damn thing. As electromagnetic was technically a coaxial circuit. Transverse electrical magnetic, longitudinal dielectric pulses and rarefactions, but that's not important. The important thing is talk about native gain versus applied gain. As I've said before in many videos, and there are a few people that wanted to fight me on it, and I trounced them because ISO is not exposure and ISO is not sensitivity. It is applied gain after the fact. And as a ham radio operator, the analogy is exactly perfect. I don't know if you know. I was going to use an analogy so people could understand it in a simple way, like a policeman. They have a communication device for communicating with the police station. Let's say it's a small town, okay? And of course the police station has an antenna, and that has a certain level of gain, okay? That is analogous to your sensor, okay? And the antenna at the police station, of course, drops down to the person that gets the message. That would be like the AD converter, and they pass it on, and then of course it's interpreted. That would be like SNR firmware. But the important thing is we have 2 different types of gain here. We got the cop out in the field with a handheld radio that's reporting, something's going down, and he's communicating back on his police band radio. That is exactly like a lens. There's 2 different gains, and a camera with a lens is exactly like a radio and its antenna array. You have 2 different types of gain. You actually have the gain that's at the sensor, and you have the gain which is the lens. Well, what is gain in the lens? Most people don't know much about antenna gain. The wavelength relative to the signal. It could be quarter wave, which is good, half wave, better. Full wave is just a ginormous antenna depending on the frequency, and that is, of course, supreme. You know, all these huge antenna farms that they used to communicate around the world, I mean, they took up hundreds of acres. They were gigantic antennas, just enormous beasts of an antenna. And, you know, so far as the analogy to help people understand what gain is, you know, lenses, and this is what people in photography don't understand. I mean, is this important to taking pictures? No. I mean, you could be a good photographer and be an ignorant moron and stick your head in the sand and take awesome pictures. I mean, if you know how to work the device. It's like one race car driver once famously said, he says, I don't know how the hell these things work, but I sure can drive them like an SOB. And that's right. I mean, he knew how to use it, but he had no idea what the hell went on. It's like the mechanics took care of that. But this is important to know when it comes to where the gain occurs in your camera. You know, there's a gain, which is a fast lens. Obviously, you have a lens that has more light gathering capability. It has better gain. That is native gain, which certainly can be changed. You take off the lens, you put a faster lens on it, which of course certainly costs more money. And then there's the other gain, which of course once the camera is made, that's it, and that is the native gain at the sensor, and which is based upon, of course, design and several other factors, but most importantly, photo site size or pixel pitch. While SNR firmware has negated out a lot of the disadvantages of smaller DX pixel pitches on the sensor, it still is the case that larger photo sites over the same period of time have much better gain. And this is proven over and over and over and over again, and is readily apparent in microcontrast, where the intertonal values, which have very low gain, as they're passing through a theoretically perfect lens, are captured less on a smaller photo site, because the gain is smaller. You know, the same is true in the analogy of, you know, the police officer. You know, if you want to talk about like a crappy lens, let's just start out with talking about two different lenses. We got two different 35mm f1.8s, which this isn't. Okay, one's made by Sigma, piece of crap. The other one is made by, I don't know, Zeiss or Nikon or something like that, right? Okay, so it's like two police officers. One is broadcasting on the top of the roof to the police station. He's got his handheld walkie-talkie on the top of the roof. Okay, got really good gain. They can receive them well at the sensor at the police station. Now another analogy, you got the same police officer the exact same distance to the receiving antenna at the station, except he's in the basement. Same walkie-talkie, same 5-watt power output on his little rubber ducky antenna. Okay, you got a guy standing on the roof, you got another guy in the basement. They're both the exact same distance to the receiver, right? So what's the difference? The same difference. You see, there's no lens. This is what photographers don't understand. They think that, you know, what the hell do they think is going on inside of a lens as far as construct? Why do they think that lenses, ED-doped glass is important in as far as how it affects the gain or the light transmission through that lens? I mean, it could be a fast lens or it could be a slow lens. Well, let's forget about fast lenses or slow lenses. We're talking about the exact same damn lens, 35mm, f1.8, same t-stop, same f-stop, that have radically different transmissions. They have radically different gain as processed and sent through the rear element of the lens. What do you think that lenses are far, far, far more than the constituents of their parts? That ED-doped glass changes the dielectric permittivity and the magnetic permeability of the coaxial circuit that is light that passes through it. The same reason why two 35mm lenses, both same f-stop, both same t-stop, have radically different, can have radically different, in the case of like crappy lenses and really, really good lens. Why do you think that Zeiss still uses lead in their glass? They have an exemption from the European Union that in optics they can't use lead, and they do use lead. They even state that in one of the footnotes of their websites. They do use lead. Well, lead is depleted uranium. Lead affects light and how it passes. You know how beautiful crystal glass is? That's glass that is doped with lead. Lanthanum dioxide, niobium dioxide. I mean, there's all these factors that factor into depth. Perceptual depth, rendered depth, there's bokeh depth, based upon depth of field, which really everybody knows, 12-bit versus 14-bit. there are 7 different factors that affect depth. And I can assure you right now that there's less than 0.5% of photographers out there that know a damn thing about anything in depth other than 2. Bokeh, well, they know about depth of field and bokeh. And lighting, you can give something definition and perceived depth if you light it differently. Instead of just blasting it with light, you can light it over here and you can give shadow definition between the specular, the diffuse, and the highlight. Well, that's 2 of the 7. That leaves 5. That means that there are 5 aspects of depth in photography that basically less than 0.1%, I mean, it's even less than that, of photographers on Earth even know about. Now, if you're trying to improve your pictures, and you only know about 2 aspects, of course there's many aspects of photography, obviously. It's not all about depth, but that's an important aspect. If you think that knowing only 2 out of 7 is ignorance bliss? I mean, is being stupid making your photographs any better? Is being an ignorant moron with your head in the sand like an ostrich? I mean, is that making your pictures better? I mean, are these idiots pleading that ignorance is better than knowledge? Well, they really are, because they're closed-minded, bigoted, knuckle-dragging, pseudo-intellectual simians. And I asked, just for the sake of argumentation, which I love to argue, and arguing doesn't mean fighting. Arguing means arguing, means debating. It doesn't mean fighting. I asked all these, these simians, these apes, about these 7 aspects of depth. Not a single one of them responded with anything at all, unless it was an insult. So, do you love ignorance? I mean, is it that you don't want to know? You can say, well, I take good enough photographs right now. It's like, well, yeah. There's not a single professional photographer in the world that will disagree with me, as I state right now, that photography is an art form and it's a science. Is the art form far more important? Well, sure it is. Will your art form be improved by knowing some of the science? Yeah, damn well right it will be. So anyway, check out Yannick's article below. And I was rather amused by the the simians and their stupidity, but I really am not. I mean, none of that's surprising. But and as far as making an analogy of gain in a camera, you have to talk about native gain, applied gain, and what is a shutter? What is your shutter mechanism? It's variable. We're not talking about ISO here. We're talking about shutter. You have a gain at the lens. You have a gain, which is t, a time. All of this is James Clerk Maxwell field equations. As far as radio transmissions, the electromagnetics that are involved with light, your camera, whether you believe it or not, I don't give a damn, but I'm 100% right. There is no difference between this camera and a professional amateur radio transceiving device. Of course, this only receives, so this actually technically be a receiver. This is a different type of radio. And I'm going to be really blunt with you right now. If you disagree with me, well, you're dead wrong. You're flat out, face down in the mud, flat out wrong. This is nothing other than a different type of radio. There is no difference between radio and visible light, except us stupid human beings can see one and we can't see the other. And if you don't understand that, then understand it. Or you can stick your head in the sand and pretend that's not the case. But I damn well am right, and it damn well is the case. It is irrefutable and undeniable. And when you understand gain, you will understand how the hell a camera works, and how you're fighting one gain against another one. And when you understand that, you will understand exposure a lot better. Thanks for watching. Bye.